All right, hello everyone. Okay, so in this video, I'm actually going to cook tonight. I am making chicken pot pie, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I've already started prepping a lot of my ingredients so that I'm not taking up a lot of time chopping and so forth. So as you can see here, I've already started with my chicken. I cooked my chicken. Some pieces are a little darker than I want it to be, but really for the most part, it is lightly cooked so that I can actually put it in the pan, and basically the most of it can actually, majority of it can actually cook in the oven. So I do have my pie pan here that we're going to actually use for the pot pie, so which is pretty nice. I've already prepped for my dough, so I have it here. Dough is not the perfect size for the pan quite yet, so what I need to do, make sure your dough obviously falls over your dish here, and if not, just keep adding a little flour, all-purpose flour if you need to, and then just kind of roll it out a little bit. So, and I've got my roller here, so I just basically roll it out like so. And the top, I will do it as well after I chop up the chicken. So you don't have to be perfect with the dough, so not necessarily perfectly round, just make sure you can fold it over once you're done. So, kind of like that whole bit there. You do not have to put oil at the bottom of your pan. I am just doing it, but it's not a necessary or required step. So now, as you can see, this basically falls over, so that's what you want to do. So basically, after you put all the ingredients in here, it will sit in here, and then you can actually fold it over. So. Also, if you want, you can do an egg wash. That's pretty easy. Obviously, you crack an egg and just use the tip of a brush and just kind of brush around the edges of it. Not required either, but I'm in love with rosemary. So I'm actually just going to put some at the base. So sprinkle a little rosemary. I know you probably haven't seen that before. It's quite all right. A little bit of oil. This really is about creating and making the dish the way you want it, and of course to your taste. So this is what it looks like with the rosemary. Slight little bit of olive oil here and rosemary sprinkled throughout. I do like fresh rosemary, but obviously, as you can see, this is crushed dry rosemary, and it works perfectly well. So, okay. So I'm just gonna set this out of the way for now. Now what I want to do is go ahead and start prepping my chicken. It's important to prep my chicken so that as I start mixing in the pot, everything will be ready to go. So I have a knife here. I'm going to actually just take the chicken out. I'm going to use the same cutting board. I have other cutting boards, but why not use the one I just used? So take out some of my chicken. And quite honestly, as long as you have boneless chicken, you're perfectly fine. whatever part of the meat you like, I would say just go ahead and get it for your chicken pot pie, or if you decide to do turkey, that works too. So. Don't worry about making perfect cuts for the chicken. It's really just about chopping it up so you can have nice sized bites when you bite into your pot pie. Also remember, just decide, you might want to make your dough for a larger, I guess if you're cooking for a family of 4 or 5. My goal is to have about, I would say about 1.5 cups of chicken. You don't want to cut the chicken up too fine. You just want to make sure nice bites without being like big chunks. Okay, so I am going to cut up one more piece, and I'll move this over to the side. Also remember, everything is to taste. So I believe in making things how you like it. So of course, when you look at ingredients that may require you taking out something that you don't like, incorporating something, just as long as the dish turns out great and you like it, and at least someone else likes it, if you're sharing with others, then that's awesome. Okay, so I've got all the chicken cut up here, so which is pretty nice. I don't need the rest of this. Obviously, I'm going to save it, and I'll find something else to cook with it. I'm just going to move it out of the way to the side over here. And also, I'm going to start with my butter. So basically, I'm using about 1/3 of a butter. If you're a butter person or a margarine, you know, I have no preference there basically. I am using butter though, so just so you know, I will heat this pan and then I'll actually get the butter to melt as I put more ingredients in to get this dish prepared. So. Okay. I also want to show you, before I get started turning this on, some of the ingredients that I've used. As you can see, I have already pre-chopped a lot of this stuff so that I don't have to do it in the video. I'm really just using a basic Pillsbury all-purpose flour. So if you like Pillsbury, use the Pillsbury. In terms of the broth, you can go with a vegetable, a chicken, turkey. I am using the organics, which I find to be quite nice. This one is a little lower in sodium if you are particular about your diet. And this is a low sodium chicken broth. So salt and pepper, I am really not measuring. I have my salt and pepper here. So I'm just going to do it to taste and what I think. But it's basically a 1/2 teaspoon of each of salt and pepper. But I do not plan on measuring it whatsoever. I do have my milk here as well, my broth. We've got our 1/3 cup of the Pillsbury flour. And over here as well, you can see I have my onions. So onions, of course, it's one of those things, again, I am not particular about, I like white onions, yellow onions. This time I did use red onions. because I just want to get a little bit more of the flavor. Obviously there's flavor in white onions, all the onions actually, but I'm just going for red this time. So choose whichever onion you like, and you basically just need 1/3, or if you're making it for 4 or 5 people, I would say go with a cup, and that should suffice. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. I put just a stick of butter in. I let the butter actually sit out today, which it was pretty nice because it's already soft. I didn't want it too hard. So I'm just going to turn my stove on, and I'm going to turn it on to a medium. Obviously, most of you have worked with butter before on top of the stove. It melts basically within a minute, and so it's important to make sure that your oven is not too high when you're melting the butter, because it's going to be that fast unless you're ready to actually pour in a lot of the other ingredients depending on what you're doing. So, but in this case, again, we're making a chicken pot pie. So melt the butter, and then just so you can see, the butter is already melting. So it's a fast process here. Make sure I'm ready to go. I do have a dish here that I will get out. This is not my appropriate dish, but for the salsa, I can actually set that. Sorry about the noise. Set that right here as I'm using this. And vegetables, also I want to let you know, before I get started, I'm about to pour the onions in and start my mixing. Vegetable, it's really one of those things where it's up to you. So for instance, if my mom was in town and I was making pot pie for her or us, I would not put peas in my pot pie because my mother hates peas. So, but she's not here, so guess what? I'm using peas. So I've got peas, I've got corn, I've got nicely chopped green beans as well, and I've got lima beans in here as well. And I don't know if I said corn, but I've got corn in here too. So this is pretty much melted, the butter. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put in my onion. And I'm gonna put in my onion, start mixing it, because it's very important to make sure you mix your dish. Everything is nice and thorough as it's cooking. Turn my heat up just a little bit now. And you'll notice too, obviously once you have butter and onions and anything, you automatically smell some of the aroma. And I just kind of enjoy just kind of standing here smelling the nice aroma, and then you kind of imagine what the food's going to taste like when it gets out of the oven. So yeah, I know it's going to be good. And you want to know why? Because I'm cooking it. So butter, you want to get the little butter in here, so make sure it's cooking. The next thing I want to do is, again, I have my all-purpose Pillsbury flour right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the pan. And this is actually going to give it the consistency that we need for the pie. So, and remember, as I said earlier too, I am doing the salt and pepper to taste. So for me, it just depends on what feels right to me. So that feels about right. And the same thing for the pepper. That feels about right to me as well. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this on in. It has a nice little consistency here. It's thickening, so that's pretty important. So while it's thickening, it's important for me to go ahead now and start pouring in my chicken broth. I am using 1 3/4 cups. So I've got my Organics low sodium chicken broth here. I'm going to go ahead and start mixing it in. We've got to let that simmer a little bit and get all mixed in. It smells great. It smells just like the actual pie, as if it were made already, so it's pretty cool. And then shortly after the chicken broth, we want to go ahead and put in the milk. So what I've done is I've already poured a half cup of milk. You can actually, if you want, you can decide whether or not you want a 2%, a whole. If you're lactose intolerant, obviously you might want a lactose-free milk. I don't know how that would taste. I haven't tried it, but I imagine as long as the dish has the right amount of seasoning in it, basically which is the salt, your dish should turn out fine, as well as the seasoning in the chicken that we've already chopped. I seasoned it before I actually put it on the skillet. So as this is cooking, it's giving a nice consistency. Once we put the flour in, it thickened, but after that, as soon as we put in the chicken broth and the milk, then it's basically, this is how it looks. I just want you to see how it looks. Easily pour, and the next thing we'll do as it cooks, now it's time to go ahead and put our vegetables in, because we really just want all of these ingredients to mix well together. So now I'm doing all the vegetables that I've sorted prior to. And it's funny thing is, I've actually never had lima beans in my pot pie, but you know what? It's my pot pie. I'm gonna try it. I don't know how much of this you can see, but I want you to see, this is it's nice and creamy right now. You can see the vegetables. So we're mixing it all in. I thought about doing some potatoes as well, chopping up some nice potatoes and putting the potatoes in it. But I said I'll pass on the potatoes this time. Obviously, being that it's the holiday, it's important that I watch what I eat, and I'd rather have dessert in lieu of potatoes. So this is fun. I enjoy cooking. I cook all the time. I actually find it to be pretty nice and therapeutic for me, and it's all good. All right, so I have the consistency that I want here. So it's important to keep this moving right along. So all of the chicken that we chopped, we're gonna go ahead and actually add the chicken in. You can just do it however you want. You can grab the chicken with your hands and put it in, whatever you decide. I'm going to use all of the chicken, because this is not just a vegetable pot pie, it's a chicken pot pie. And anytime you have a chicken pot pie, you want to make sure there is chicken in the pot pie. So also, just so you'll know, I went ahead and, of course, ahead of time, I think many of you know already, don't forget to preheat your oven. So I've done that already. So I'm just going to let this mix and cook just for a little bit longer. We don't want it to cook too much, because obviously it's going to do most of that in the oven. Okay, I think I'm at a point now. Make sure, if you're unsure, always turn your burner off. Remember, the burner is still hot, so you're able to, see, now look at this, pot pie. Look at the consistency of it. That's how you want this is how you want your mix to look. Just like this. Okay, so, rinse my hands. Do the top as well. So now this is one of the fun and most important parts. They don't have the perfect edges, but at least they're out, and this is what we want. And I just wanted to show you what this looks like. So now, I'm gonna take this actually, I'm gonna get another spoon, a larger one, so that I can take the chicken, the broth and all of that, and actually, as you can see, do it like this. Just like so. I'm gonna put the rest in there, but look how it's looking so far. Isn't that beautiful? It's gonna taste delicious. And I'm gonna fill it up because I want this pot pie to be nice and filling. I don't care how I do it, just as long as I get the job done. Yeah, okay. Take a look and see how beautiful this is. I'll zoom in a little bit just so you can kind of get a look here. That's what it looks like now. Very nice. Okay. Well, we're doing good here. So what I'm doing is getting the dough for the top, making sure I can spread it out. Also, I want to let you know too that with my dough, everyone's a little different. Some people go ahead and put the top on, and they put the slits in it after they put it on. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut slits in it now. Sorry guys, you can't see me right now. I apologize. Okay. Now, perfect. Now, okay, let's see here. All right, as I said, I'm going to go ahead and put some slits in the pot pie. So it's important to have the slits in the pot pie, and basically what I mean by that is, I'll show you. You're basically just going to take a knife and just put slits, as you can see, in the pie. And as a matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and do it for you so you can see me do it. So, okay. All right. All right, so I've got the top here. It is going on. What I'm going to do is actually show you now that the pie is all covered, okay? This is how it looks. And I'm just going to put little slits, as you can see. It's important to have the slits as this cooks through and it's just lightly taking the edge, the pointed edge of the knife, and just kind of running it right across the dough. Okay. All right, so personally, everyone's a little different. I am going to actually take this. If you want, you can cut some of the extra dough off, but right now I'm pinching along the sides here. This is a proper pan, so dish, Pyrex dish for the okay. So I love dough, I don't mind extra. So some people cut off the extra, but I'm actually not going to do that. Right? Unless it's like super extra long. I don't like wasting it. I really love the taste of it. So now I'm gonna take this again, because remember, we have the bottom portion, and now we have the top portion, and I'm just going to nicely fold it over. It's going to give the edge basically a nice thickness. Some people aren't that much into crust and bread, but I am, so that's why I say to each their own. Okay? And then I'll actually fix this where it's nice and pretty. Okay. Okay, one more thing. Now, I want to make sure you can actually see all of it. And there we go. To me, crust is crust. But you just don't want any of the crust falling over into the oven, obviously. So I just fold this over. It's not the prettiest, but I promise you, it tastes the same. Okay, there we go. I'll get into perfection later. So this is what it looks like now, just so you can see. So I've already preheated the oven to 425. Basically, we want this to get nice and brown, and you'll see the results after it's in the oven for 30 minutes, okay? So here we go.